All right, here's our video. The Hornet Sting. Look at that thing. It's not a yellow jacket, even though it looks somewhat like a yellow jacket. It's a hornet, but here's the thing. All hornets are wasps. And by the way, a yellow jacket is a wasp. But all hornets are wasps, but not all wasps are hornets. Little philosophical thing. So if you watched my video on yellow jackets, you would have known that the yellow jacket is the most aggressive wasp. So the hornet is not as aggressive as the yellow jacket, but it's bigger than the yellow jacket. Could be much bigger. And the queens can get up to about 2 inches. Thing is about the hornet, the sting is a little more of an ouch if you get stung by a hornet. The good news is hornets usually don't bother people. The yellow jackets are more aggressive, and then even then, the yellow jackets don't seek out people. It's just if you leave them alone, they will leave you alone. So the big difference between the two is you can see that, maybe not so much in this picture, but the yellow jacket is yellow and black all over. You see in the hornet, and there's many different types of hornets. In the United States, we have what's called a European hornet. It can get from 1 to 1.5 inches. The queen can get to 2 inches. The difference is it has this kind of a red body out in the front, right, and red antenna. And it's active at night. So let's get our pen going here. Difference again, yellow jackets are more active in the daytime, but at nighttime, the hornets are more active. Active at night. And the hornet, the European hornet, this is the one in the United States, the European hornet. So other types of hornets. The hornet mostly is carnivore. It's mostly a carnivore, but it will eat tree sap, so it's omnivorous. And it could rip apart tree bark, especially the lilac bush. All right. By the way, this is not a European hornet. It's a bald-faced European hornet. And the bald-faced European hornet is actually not a hornet. It's a yellow jacket. Not the yellow jackets you probably see in your backyard. So this is in the United States also, but it's not the hornet we will talk about because it's not really a hornet, even though they call it that. We're talking about just the European hornet, not this picture, which again is the European bald-faced hornet. And it's something you probably don't want to mess with. So here's a better picture of the European hornet, right? It looks like it's half yellow jacket and half red ant or something like that, right? Notice the red on the front and the yellow and black in the back. And of course, this is bigger than a yellow jacket. You hear some people say yellow jack. It's actually yellow jacket. Sometimes you might hear yellow jack. And again, it's a wasp. So are yellow jackets. And its main venom, just like the yellow jacket, I'll use red, is mastaparin. So I'll write that here, mastaparin. And this mastaparin enters your body, wherever you're stung, and then you get an immune response. Your body is in overdrive, right? It's saying you're going to get that ouch immune response. So let's get a picture of the skin. Oh, and by the way, here are some of the hornets ripping apart the bark to get at that delicious tree sap. So if you see some of the bark of some of the branches kind of ripped off, it could be the hornet, the European hornet. And again, they're active at night, but you can see them at toward dusk and dawn also, and you can see them sometimes in the daytime, especially if they're hungry. All right, let's get to that skin. So it's the same response as I talked about in my other video with the yellow jackets. So if you want to look at more in detail on it, but basically when you do get stung, and remember the hornet could sting you multiple times. It's not like the honeybee where it stings you and it can't sting again because it dies. So when you're getting stung, there's going to be a response, right? And your brain is going to release neuropeptides. And basically, it's just neurotransmitters that are telling you, ouch, right? So The master parent is going to break down the cells of your cells. So again, let's get our pen going. Make it easier here. So the venom, which I said was the master parent, and there's other substances, of course, in this venom, but just basically, the master parent breaks down the cell membrane of cells. And so the cells are they're gonna die, right? So the cells will send a signal to the brain. Sending a signal, sending an SOS. And I'm oversimplifying here. So basically, the cells are saying, ouch, I'm hurt. Help. Help me, right? And of course, you're going to get this instantly, right? The message gets to the brain, gets back to you, and you go, ouch. And whatever else you might say, right? Maybe 2 ouches. Depends, right? So once you get this ouch, right, the mast cells come into play. And here's a mast cell right here. I'll just underline the mast cell. And they're going to release histamines. And histamines are the cause of sometimes you have allergies. Sometimes the mast cells release too much histamines. Your body's working overtime. Depends how much venom goes into you. But you can see all this histamine just being released from the mast cells. And one of the jobs of the histamines is really to send in the cavalry. It's asking for help, right? And what will come is your white blood cells. By the way, the mast cell is a white blood cell. But there's another type of white blood cell, the neutrophils. And the neutrophils are coming to the rescue. Let's write neutrophils over here. So the neutrophils will come and attack the cells that are being attacked by the venom. That basically, in a way, the cells are saying, help me, but the neutrophils will just destroy them. Get that venom that's in those cells out, and they'll eat them. All right. So we'll just say the neutrophils eat the cells. Basically, it's just a simplification here. The venom's in the cells, they'll eat them. And then the neutrophils will die. They eat enough, and they'll just keep going until they die. And then from there, of course, we have the next white blood cells that come in, the macrophages. And the macrophages, in Greek, they're called great eater. They're great eaters because they'll eat all the dead things that have to get out of the body. The great eater. Sometimes I feel like a macrophage. So they can eat all those dead neutrophils and dead cells, and they'll eat them all up, all with that venom in it. And then you might see a pus around because that's all the dead cells that are being eaten, and some of the neutrophils that are dead. You see that pus around the skin. Let's get a picture of the skin, by the way. So again, just to simplify, you get a hornet or a yellow jacket, any wasp that attacks you, that stings you, and hopefully they sting you just once, because many times you get all that venom going in. So the master parent, that venom, will go into your cells, the skin cells, and it will break down the cell membrane. They'll basically just killing the cells. And that cell, while it's being killed, will send a signal out. And the mast cells will come and release histamines, which basically open up the blood vessels also. The histamines expand blood vessels, so those white blood cells can get in. And those white blood cells, the neutrophils, will eat the cells. They'll eat the dead cells, and the macrophages will just gobble everything else up. So you think of the macrophages just cleaning up all the mess. And this could take a while. You could feel, and a sting could last 2 hours just from the sting itself, depending how much it was, 2 days, or maybe even more. So you're going to get a reaction from this because sometimes there's a lot of mast cells releasing a lot of histamines. And again, the more histamines are released, the more neutrophils come to the rescue and try to repair this operation. All right, and here's our skin, right? So the top layer we know is the epidermis. You may have said once as a joke, your epidermis is showing, right? The top layer of the skin. Right, and then we have if you go lower in, we have our dermis, which is the middle layer. and the subcutaneous tissue over here, that fat tissue over here on the bottom. So when we have our venom is yellow, the venom comes in, usually it's hitting into the dermis. Sometimes it doesn't go into the dermis. Wherever it's going into your body, it's killing those cells, right? Keratinocytes. And of course, just to review, we're going to have the mast cells come in, release histamine. As you can see here, this histamine, which is just alerting neutrophils to come to the rescue. And the histamine will dilate, will expand your blood vessels. And when you're getting an itch, when you're feeling that itch and pain, it's just the brain telling you that you got stung and that we need more white blood cells to get into this area and help us. So after 3 or 4 days, you still feel the pain. Well, your body's just working it out. Don't forget, just get it checked out just in case. Some people, they react differently to different stings. All right, that's our video today.